so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time, Professor.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Professor, we can talk for hours and hours and hours about your achievements. You've done incredibly well. But I also would like to know, first of all, who are you as an individual? And also at the same time, what inspired you to become where you are today? And if you wasn't doing what you were doing as a professor, what would you do, Professor?
Thank you, Kiran. It's a very interesting question. And to begin with, as you gave the nice introduction, I am the Dean of Sustainability and Senior Professor of Civil Engineering at Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. This is top 20 ranked institute in India out of around 1,000 universities. Now, when I did my graduation from NIT Rourkela, a top university in east of India, at that time I was not sure whether I would go to academics at all. But somehow that time changes and things happen as they are supposed to happen. I joined BITS Pilani for my master's, and after my master's I was looking for a job in design industry in construction. But since I was the topper in my master's class at BITS Pilani, the vice chancellor there offered me assistant lecturer job in 1989. And even till that point, I was not sure whether even after joining, I would continue in academics or in teaching. But when I started my PhD, and my PhD was in fiber reinforced concrete, I started getting interest into it, and I would say started falling in love with the research, particularly on the concrete side. After I completed my PhD, I moved to Thapar Institute, which is based in Punjab, in Patiala, as assistant professor. After working for a few years in teaching and research, I went to University of Wisconsin in US at Milwaukee for my postdoctoral work. The research I did was the use of industrial byproducts and waste material in construction materials development. At that point of time, it broadened my horizon, whether I should continue with the traditional research which other people are doing and is easy to do, or should I take up something different which people are scared of or not able to take the risk in doing the research, or it is difficult to do the research. If you look at the type of industrial byproducts and the waste material, you have so much of waste glass, construction waste, scrap tires. So if we, then at one point of time, like say 10, 15 years back, an idea came, if we are not going to explore their usage, they are going to occupy all our lands, whether it's whatever size the India is or whatever size the US is. Forget about the European countries, which they are very smaller in size. So I started doing research on the materials which people were not even interested in touching to explore for possible use in the construction. Initially, the time was tough. People made fun of me, what I am doing, but I was very, very focused because I am trying to find out a solution of finding out a replacement of one of the ingredients of concrete, that is river sand. In technical terms, we call it fine aggregates. Because to me, cement one can manufacture, but these fine aggregates or the river sand we cannot manufacture, and the resource, it is getting depleted world over. So my research got very focused that I am going to find out. So I started some of the word like on coal bottom ash and foundry sand, difficult to use, and such type of materials. Once my research was published, people started referring it, and I slowly in the last 15-20 years, I became one of the most cited researcher in the world, and my papers were cited as a base paper for the future research. So to come to your question, what I am basically, I am ready to take challenge and ready to do things which many people are not even interested in thinking of doing it. Initially you get the hurdles, but once you succeed, the world is yours.
Are you happy? Are
And
you happy? Are you happy, sorry, Professor? Because yes, at the same time, you've explained very depth about your, your energy towards, your passion towards, materials, engineering, concrete, etc. But are you happy overall, Professor? And you still have the passion to push forward more?
yes, see, like once you are in the academics, for example, whether you're talking of in India or in the Europe and the US, once you become professor, people may try to relax. You may do the research with the same passion or not. For me, the passion grew actually, and with my research reputation, I get invitation from almost top universities in the world to give some lectures as a keynote speaker or as a distinguished visiting professor, and become the editor of top UN journals. So that keeps me on toes, I would say, to do more and more and contribute more to the society.
What's your aim, Professor? You've spoken very much about, your passion, but as a professor, there's always an end goal to something. There's always an end goal to the passion. The drive. What's your end goal? What do you hope, Professor, that you will leave behind when you die, when you pass away, and your legacy continues? What do you hope to leave behind?
As such, in academics, I would say there's no, as long as you are alive, there's no end goal. You keep on excelling, and every day is a learning process. But once I die and that day comes, my research is available on the internet, and people will continue to use them for the future research. And for me, that gives the biggest satisfaction, that even once I am gone, people will be referring, because I have got some, besides my research publication, some of the top books published by Springer and elsewhere, the publisher in Germany and UK. So that is my satisfaction, that I will be known even after I am gone.
And your students, Professor, when they come into the classroom and they come in, they come to learn. What advice do you give to your students? Because obviously you are a pioneer at the top of your food at the top of your industry. What advice do you give to your students when they're struggling and the difficulties they have when they come into the classroom, etc.? What advice do you give?
Generally, in the recent times, I'm teaching master's class, the students who do the research. I tell them two, three simple things, that you need to be focused what you want to achieve, and simply by focusing is not going to give you the solution or the result. You need to work for it, and work for with total dedication and honesty, and be punctual, and stick to the time schedule what you are given, and then the things will come. And as a supervisor or as a teacher, I am there to guide them, but they have to work them out. And the one of the simplest example I give to my PhD and master's students, if I throw you in a pond or in a river, and if you do not know swimming, so you have two options: either you don't fight for it, or simply die, or try to fight it and come out of the pond or the river. So in the process, you are going to learn a lot. So this is what I tell my students. You,
Absolutely, Professor.
you need to
Absolutely.
you need to continuously strive to work hard.
And also, Professor, in terms of what you've just said is absolutely marvelous. Now, my other question now is, what is something about yourself? When something about yourself that took so long for you to understand, it took decades for you to understand as a professor. What's something that was more of a challenge for you?
See, when I started my academic career, basically, Kiran, I had no godfather and no one to show me the path how to go about it. Like I tell my students, if you do good research, get a publications, I get them admitted in top universities in UK and US for the masters and PhD. There was no one for me, to be very honest. neither in my in the institutions where I studied or where I worked. It was my self motivation uh, with the limited resources, limited things. How can I excel? So that desire or that urge, even at this stage, if I stop doing the research, my citations will continuously increase without doing any research. I keep on traveling for giving my lectures. That is the desire to give the knowledge you have to the world, and so that they can use it. So it's not by compulsion, it's by choice to excel more and more and contribute to the society.
Sometimes, Professor, as well as you just said there about your family, sometimes people who have family love and who don't have family love, who don't have family support, there's a percentage out there, there's an estimate, there's a bar graph out there that they say that people that are not family loved or don't have the family support achieve more in terms of because they have nothing else to lose. What's your thoughts on that, Professor?
Uh, Very interesting. I got married in 2007, and when I got married, people were talking about that after the marriage, that the kind of traveling I am doing or the kind of research I am doing is going to be reduced or decreased because of the compulsion to the family and the issues, etc. But I've been very lucky and fortunate. I got a wife and the daughter who keep me supporting and pushing me that I should do more and travel and explore the world more and to contribute. Generally, Indian housewife may say, "Where are you going? Why are you going? You stay at home, etc., etc." But that way, I'm very lucky. I would say very fortunate to have a wife and daughter who keep me supporting. I just returned from the U.S. Last week after after a month. Now I'm going to Japan. They keep on pushing me indirectly that there's no restriction from family side in your career or in your research if you're traveling abroad and giving lectures. So that I'm very fortunate.
Do you think also, Professor, in terms of your success, because what you've achieved is highly, is very high, and some majority, most people will not be able to achieve that. Some people are born geniuses, some people aren't. But do you think, in your perspective, do you think the love or the not love from your parents gave you the drive to fulfill your own family and fulfill your own life because you had a choice to make? Either you could stay where you are, or on the other hand, you could succeed and become, the professor that you are today, where you've earned by being where you are today.
I would say I have a great support from my father before my marriage to excel and do whatever I want to do. And after my marriage, fortunately, I got the same support from my wife and later from my daughter. And that way, there's no even 1% hesitation. If I want to go tomorrow for some lectures or some invitation, my family will not say you have just come last week and why you are going out again. So that much family support I have. Uh, Regarding other support, academic support or excellent support, I never had that, but it was my self desire and urge, I said, to do more and more so that you can have your own name. The reason I came back from the US, many people ask me this question: why did you come back from the US? Generally, people, once the Indians go to the US, they generally don't come. And so my answer was, I want to create my own group. I do not want to work for somebody. I want to create my own research group and create a good name for myself and for my university to
Can you
have my
please
own identity.
can you please explain to me in terms of this group that you've said? It sounds remarkable and it sounds very interesting to our readers. What do you mean by group?
No, in academics, group means your research group basically. The people who are working with you in a particular, like my research group is concrete technology, so I have a couple of PhD students, master's students, some of my colleagues who work. So that is the meaning of the group in academics terms. So, and once you have a good group basically, and then you excel better. If you keep on changing the position in the say in academics to keep on moving to different universities, you need to build the group right from the scratch. So, and in the US, I was working for somebody. Here, I created my own research and own group. So I came back,
Absolutely.
took a very
Absolutely, Professor.
strong call, and I have no regrets about that.
Also, pain, Professor. I also want to talk more about belief about yourself and also prove. Being a professor at a top university is remarkable, as I've always said, is something that people like myself, other people dream of doing. Some people are never capable or intelligently or intellectually be able to do that. But as a professor, and now you've reached to a pinnacle point in your life, are you still trying to prove to yourself, Professor? Is there anything that you think that you haven't accomplished in your life that you want to accomplish?
In academics, Kiran, in the research, there is no end game, there is no limit actually. You keep on excelling, keep on thinking, keep on doing research, and trying to find out some solutions which are going to be beneficial to the society, to the area which I am working basically, finding out a substitute for construction material by utilizing the waste and the industrial byproduct. There is no end to it, and everybody in the US, in the entire world, is struggling how to use them. So there's no end for that. And my philosophy is very simple, Kiran. Excellence doesn't come easy, excellence doesn't come cheap, excellence doesn't come without sacrifice. So you need to sacrifice for your family time, your friends' time, your colleagues' time to achieve certain things. So that is the philosophy I work on it.
Absolutely, Professor. My other question is happiness. And it's good that we've said that. And we will go back to what you've just said. But I think what would also be important, happiness. Has there ever been a time in your life where you've achieved so much in your life, or you've achieved something that you've pushed it so hard, but psychology, you're still not happy? Do you understand? The psychology behind it is like, let's just say, for example, Elon Musk. He's done SpaceX, Tesla, Twitter, X, etc. But he's got now he's a trillionaire. And I spoke to his father recently. We had a great conversation, and he was saying money's not everything, but it's also about leaving a legacy behind. Are you at a place now where actually no? Are you at a place in your life where you've achieved, but at the same time you're still? Have you been in a place in your life where you haven't been happy, regardless what you've achieved?
I won't say I'm not happy, but I won't say I'm fully satisfied yet
Mm,
because there's a
mm,
lot to do,
mm,
lot to do, and keep on working to your best of your capacity and capability. So
mhm.
I will not say I'm not happy, but I am still lot to do, and people are keep on recognizing me every day. Even from the 1st of July, I became the editor of one of the most top-rated journal in the UK, Journal of Building Engineering. So, and I know by accepting that offer, I have to devote more time. I have to cut down time from my family, from my friends. But that gives me more happiness once people recognize me, value my research. They try to use them in their day-to-day research and day-to-day life in their countries.
What's your thoughts on being ambitious, Professor? Because ambitious can be two different things. It can be someone who is a non-stop person where they're trying their very best to get to where they need to be, but at the same time they're making themselves ill. Or on the other hand, they can do it selectively, where they are ambitious, but at the same time they self-love and they self-care about themselves. What's your defining perspective on ambition, Professor?
Actually, when you talk of ambition, it depends how you're looking at the ambition. Ambition, you're trying to achieve something by logical means, or ambition, you're trying to achieve something by, I would say, illogical means, trying to keep aside certain individual and then bypass them and get to the position you're trying to achieve by somehow. And the profession I am in, it is very very tough. And the uh, in the position I am in at the moment, it is a hard work of 35 years plus. It has not come in a day or two, so it's after 35 years. So in this area, if you keep on working, you will find some people who are going to help you, you are going to find some people who are going to criticize you, and I'm more happy with the people who are trying to criticize me so that I get more energy and
Mm.
more enthusiasm to exceed beyond my expectations.
So, in other words, what you're saying is you appreciate criticism more because it gets you where you need to be. Is that right?
Yes, if, I give you example. One of when I started one of my research, the use of waste foundry sand in concrete. One of my colleague in 2008 started laughing at me and saying, "Are you going to make a chicken curry out of it?" I said, "Okay, let's wait and see." So now 15, 16 years down the line, my that research is top in the world. If I would have simply got bogged down by the comment or something, uh, I would have simply left. As I said, the research I do is not easy to do, and many people even don't think of touching that particular area. So I like those kind of challenges. Sometimes criticism helps you, and the people who are bold and strong enough, they try to take up that challenge and move ahead. And the people who are not able to handle the criticism, they bog down and they fail.
No, I understand. If I had to interview you, Professor, when you were 18 years old, and when you were a young man at the time where you were, figuring out your life, who was you back then as an 18-year-old, and how would this interview be different from me speaking to you now and having that conversation with you when you were 18? The psychology behind that.
At the age of 18, the psychology of the boy, with the kids are entirely different these days in terms of Indian context I'm talking about. They're more focused, maybe due to the, I would say, parents' pressure in India that they want to go to engineering or in the medical, and there's a lot of, I'll tell you, there's a tremendous pressure on the kids, and the parents also are responsible for it. So they are just focusing on how could we get into the first step to into a good engineering college or the medical college. So kids are not thinking beyond that at the age of 18 or something. Once they get admission, for example, see, uh, my time when I graduated in 1986, things were entirely different. Things were competitive, but not to this extent. Here, say for example, around 20 lakhs of students sit for IIT's exams or NEET exams, and there are hardly 30,000 seats. So for the kids of 18, that is the only focus, how, in which college and which discipline they are going to opt for their graduation. So they don't think beyond that. Once they get into the college, then they think for where they're going to be placed after they graduate, and where they're going to do the masters in UK, Australia, New Zealand, or within India, and then the PhD. So at the age of 18, I would say they don't think beyond that.
How,
As a
how
first
was
step,
and how was you at 18 years old, Professor? What was you like as a person?
I don't remember, but I would say I must be very simple and had no idea. But since I got admission in the NIT Rourkela, one of the top college, after a tough competition, I was very, very happy that I got where I wanted to be. After, as I said, after my graduation, I never wanted to be in teaching, so I had joined MBA to in some very reputed university in India, but I left it after 6 months. Then joined BITS planning for my masters and PhD. So I don't recall, but I was not sure. Definitely not in any way in any mood to go into academics or teaching. It happened slowly, basically. And like something you started falling in love, and then your love goes and deeper and deeper.
Also, AI, Professor. Are you worried about AI in education in your perspective, knowing that students can, well, let's just be straight and honest, they can cheat. They can use AI to their advantage. How do you know the difference between AI, that is a person, that a student is using AI, and what message would you like to tell the people, your students? Plus, also, do you think AI is a good thing or a bad thing, Professor?
I think this is an excellent question in the these days context about the AI. I would like to answer your question in two categories. One from the student point of view, and the other from the research, because I am also the editor of couple of top journals. Now, concerning the AI, and uh, I'll give a background. Say, for example, in the civil engineering or the mechanical engineering, when you're designing something, My point is, or my philosophy is, there is nothing wrong in using AI, but you should be able to do the things without AI. So that will make your concept clear. What what the AI is doing behind the screen. But nowadays the problem with the student is they are not very good in fundamentals. They just give certain inputs and you get the result out. They are not aware what is going inside. So what I do in my class, I said you do it the way you do without AI, and then try to solve the with using AI. So you are going to have a both con. If you only blindly use AI, I'm very scared it might kill the thinking capacity of the people as such. And
Is that a good thing though? Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing though? Sorry to interrupt you there, Professor, but is that a good thing though that students, colleges and universities around the world, not just in India, but around the world, that are allowing their students to have AI, knowing that it's not going to make them more intelligent or, like you said before, thinking process. Why is that, Professor? And do you think at some point universities should ban students having using AI because it loses the concept to then coming to university, correct?
no, actually, I will not say the universities should ban. The universities should develop a strategy, or the teachers who are teaching a course, that they need to ensure that they know the fundamental concepts. They can solve an issue, solve a problem without AI, and then also with AI. So they are going to be more successful. Simple example I will give you. Say I am sitting in a room in my office. I have to design a roof. If I do not know the procedure of designing a roof and simply take the AI, I have to give only couple of inputs. What is the length of my room? What is the width of my room? What is the, how many people can accommodate? The AI is going to give you the answer. But a student will not know how the AI has done it. So my idea is it should run parallel. They should know physically how to do it, and then they try to use AI. So simply cannot ban it, but the way things are going up in the world globally, I am very scared that it may be giving us solution we are very happy that AI is doing a lot, but if the people do not clear their concepts and the fundamentals, I am very scared it might kill their thinking capacity at all. Now
So
coming to
what's
the
the,
research
so
part,
what's so
yeah,
what's the point
carry on.
then coming to? What's the point in students coming? I mean, it's an excellent statement you said there, Professor. But what's the point in students coming to university or any university in the world to study if they have a portal or they can use X, Y, and Z, some sort of AI generated app to fulfill their answers? What is the point?
No, I agree with you. If we do not follow some of the things which I have said, a time will come the people will not join the universities, getting the things done at their home with the use of apps. But but they will not be knowing. They will be able to do the regular things using AI. But if some critical thinking, some different design, different concept, they will just not be able to do it. So point is, the idea which I am saying is very easy to say, but it's not easy to implement in the classroom. It is possible in a small classroom, but not possible in a classroom which you are having 200 students or 300 students. But it can be done. As I said, it all depends upon the individuals what you want to achieve as a teacher. You want to be and once you try to do this as a teacher, as an instructor, you have to put lot of efforts. If you're ready to put up lot of effort, you're going to doubly check the solutions of the student given manually and by using AI. If you are a very relaxed teacher, casual, you say, how does it matter to me? Let the students do, they are getting the answer, that's it. Whether the concepts are clear. Because you can find all kinds of teachers globally. So it lot depends upon the teacher. More than the universities, I would say, depends upon the teacher.
What's your thoughts on the education in the UK compared to education in India? They say in India the university is far more gradual and far more advanced in India compared to the UK. You have much more stricter regime. and also at the same time, there's more successful people in India in terms of generating growth and also, creating companies. What's your perspective? And as you know, you've been a speaker around the world in different universities. What do you say about
And
that? And what's your thoughts?
if you look at globally, say for example, the Indians are in a very high positions in the universities in US, UK, and the CEOs of uh, top companies, Google, Microsoft, etc., etc. So Indians, by I would say, they are very intelligent people as far as the science and math backgrounds are concerned, and that is the reason. And they are doing so well. And if you talk of in UK and the US, they are they have a little more flexibility in doing the things, academics and research, rather than in India. For example, what I'm trying to say is, see, if I'm a chemist, for example, my research, I've done my PhD in chemistry, for example. I'll not get a professor job in India in civil engineering. But if I'm a chemist who is working on the micro characterization of concrete, I can get a job in the US as a professor of civil engineering. So there is more flexibility to adjust the people. Here we have large number of peoples, so we need to be very strict as far the rules and regulations are concerned. So because the people might try to exploit it. So, like for a professor of civil engineering in India, the basic requirement has bachelor's in engineering is must, but not in US or in UK. For people of different discipline, chemistry, biology, can be professor of civil engineering or construction.
Now, I'm not going to segregate lower class, middle class, upper class, but in the UK, I don't know what it's like in India. I mean, you live in India, so I would know what it's like in the UK. But majority, most people, well, not majority, but I would say a percentage of most people believe that education isn't the right way forward to fulfill your life. Do you think that is true, or do you think education is a necessity?
Education is a necessity, but I would say is certainly not in the right direction, I would say. We are very rigid in our curriculum and we not develop our child to think beyond capacity. And that is the reason you will find you must be often hearing and listening. They say the graduates are not very industry ready. They are not able to do the out of box solutions. So the curriculum and the style is very regulated, I would say. They don't go beyond certain things. And similar things happens in the US and UK also, but there is little more flexibility part. So I'm talking in terms of Indian graduates. And they are intelligent, they are hardworking, but the academic curriculum is kind of a rigid one.
I also want to talk more about you, Professor. I want to go more into depth
Yeah.
about you. I want to know more about you. What drives you? Is it fear? Is it happiness? Is it curiosity? Or is it a duty because you are a family man? What drives you to get up in the morning and at the same time knowing that you've got to get to, you know, you've got to get to class, what drives you? What gives, what's, is it fear that drives you? Is it duty? Is it responsibilities? What drives you?
It is certainly not fear, Kiran. It is, I would say, desire and curiosity to do more and excel and contribute more to my own growth, my university growth, and society in general. Certainly not fear to do more and excel.
And also failure, Professor. Everyone in life has failure. We all have failures. We all fail. If you don't fail, you don't succeed. What's something that's what advice would you give to students out there that beat themselves up every day mentally because they cannot achieve what they have to achieve because at the same time they're scared of failing?
And this is a very interesting question, and I would certainly say not very. It doesn't have a very straightforward answer, because it is very easy to lecture at this age to youngsters. Because we also need to think how we were when we were young at 18 or 20 or 25. But based on the experience like what I have and you have, we can counsel them better, our student. Because I'll give you one perspective as a researcher and as a editor of journals, because I often speak whenever I go abroad. One of the highest demand for a lecture is I should give a lecture on how to publish top quality publications. So for my students I say, if a paper is rejected by some journal. So please remember, failure is not a disqualification. Sometimes failure gives you to learn more and come out in everything more flying colors. So if some paper is rejected, the reviewers give you certain comments and you need to work on it and improve the paper. So my simple thing is, don't be scared about the failure. Failure is not a, I mean, rejection is not a failure, and further you can proceed. And here it depends upon how the individuals take it. The strong people take failure as a challenge and move forward. The people who are not very strong, they bog down and they stay there it is. So it is easy to say, but I have some students who have done exceedingly well by, when they are not very bright, but with lot of counseling, lot of advice, lot of guidance. They are doing very well globally, and my students are even professors in the US and in the UK. So the point is, giving advice is one thing, but how the other person is taking it, how receptive he or she is for the advice, how value they how they value your advice basically. But yes, it is much better these days if you give advice, the people try to listen. If they do it, they succeed. If they don't do, they are of their own.
Are you a good judge of character, Professor?
Pardon, say it again.
Are you a good judge of character? Are you a good judge of character?
I think I am. I think I am. With the, if I look at my career of around 35 years plus, by and large, whether I'm choosing my selecting my student for my master research or my graduate research, or my colleagues selection for my in as a team member in my administration, by and large, I would say I am very good in judging people and trying to take the best out of them, because every individual is not same. You should have the uh, capacity to judge an individual where he can perform the best. That is the thing. I think I have that.
And when you say
I'm
you're a good
very
judge of
good.
character, when you say you're a good judge of character, Professor, when a student walks into your classroom and you know that he's exceptionally talented, what interests you about that student? And also, when you want to personally help a student and encourage that student forward, what sort of characteristics do you look for in an individual when you are looking to mentor or help in shape their life and their career?
I would say, excellent question, Kiran. Generally, in the academics, when you talk to professors, they will be looking for very brilliant students to work with them. For me, whether the student is brilliant or very intelligent is not the main criteria. For me, the main criteria is a student should be very laborious. He should be able to follow your advice towards his academics. The intelligence and the results are bound to come. And this I have experienced in my stay in Thapar for the last 32 years. So intelligence and brilliance is wonderful, but if you are focused how to do it, your sincere gives you more better outcome than the brilliance. And this is my, so if I if I'm looking for a PhD student, I will not look for like 9 CGPA or 10 CGPA student. I look for even 7.5 CGPA and will try to judge whether he is going to follow or he is going to handle my certain strict guidelines to pursue his research. So that is my way of looking at the student. So I don't run after brilliance.
What's your thoughts, Professor, on autism? They say people who have autism are exceptionally bright. People that are so autism people have. Well, I wouldn't know too much, but they say autistic people are very highly educated. What's your thoughts on people who have autism? And also at the same time, how do you, as a professor, help when you do have a student that walks in that is so dedicated, but you know he has autism? How do you shape that in the classroom to his needs?
Personally, I've not experienced as such cases in my classrooms, but I would say it depends upon the individuals. We cannot generalize it, but it is sometimes, it is again the willpower of the individual. you know if someone has a difficulty or some issues, I said you'll find two types of people. They will just surrender to the fate and then let it be. Some people fight to excel. So it a lot depends upon. I won't generalize your comment, but I would say it depends upon the individuals. But unfortunately or fortunately, I've not come across in my classroom or in my academic area such people as such.
No, I think people with autism are exceptionally bright, very exceptionally bright. Got lots of friends of mine who are so dedicated, but they need that extra support. But they are
Yes,
extremely intelligent, and
yes,
it's always good to shine a light on that, Professor, because people like that, they want to prove every day and push every day.
yes. No, this
My
is
other
what I
question,
said.
yeah,
Yes, please carry on.
yeah. No,
Please
please,
go ahead.
please, yeah. So my other question now is, in terms of like, what question, what question are you still trying to figure out in yourself in your own life, besides, being a professor? What are you still trying to accomplish deep within you as a person? Besides all the accolades and going into the classroom, what are you trying to explore within you as a person?
As I said, once you are in this particular, academics and research, there's no end game. It all depends upon the individual. If I say, don't do anything, to be very honest, no research, nothing, I have very tenured jobs, I've got very wonderful connection, I keep on doing it. So it is basically self urge to do it. There's, there is no philosophy, no concept, and it's my own interest to do whatever I can. There's no restriction, no pressure for me from my family or from my vice chancellor or that administration that I should do more. If I don't do, nothing will happen. It's my own interest basically. So we cannot generalize. You'll find some professors in the US and UK or even India after they become professor, their research die almost. They don't do anything because they think they have become the professor. What is the use of doing it? So in the academic and research is basically, I define it in, at least in Indian context, two types of PhD, for example. You're doing the PhD for the sake of getting a degree and to get a job, or you're doing the research to get a PhD to really contribute to the research. So it's individual's interest basically which keeps on driving. So there's no limit as such.
And when you were also ranked eighth in the world, it's such a remarkable thing and such a great achievement. Now, my question to you more in depth is, do you think people who, like yourself, do you think intelligence is gained, or do you think someone like someone who has done extremely exceptionally well is born with intelligence, or do you think, in your perspective, someone who wants to become voted number one in the world as a scientist, do you think that person is born, or do you think that person has to educate themselves enough to get there?
I would go by the second point what you have said. Like say, born intelligence may give you a initial push, but not will not take you to the greater heights if you don't work or don't perform. But if you work and perform, you can achieve what you want. And the another point which you're referring quite often, eighth in the world. See, actually, the research is very wide ranging parameters. People go for the number of publications, this and that. Sometimes that becomes misleading. And here, it is a quality research what matters. For example, if I say it in terms of research, what we call it citations, and how do I explain to a person about this concept who is not from academics, for example? Citation is something, your work is being referred and published by somebody else, you get certain citations. So, and in terms of a non-academic, say for example in UK, some car manufacturing companies is making certain cars. You must have seen some cars are sold more, some cars are sold less. So the cars which are